Today's video is going to be a spicy one because we are reacting and talking all about the one thing I posted a poll about for you guys: pilots. I'm coming after pilots, and I honestly really hope the devs take this seriously, because if they don't take this seriously, I'm going to be showcasing what happens and the extent of how this can get out of control within the game and honestly ruin the entire point of these games and the fair gaming experience that Age of Empires Mobile should be providing to every player. So, special like, comment, and subscribe. You can check out the link down below for Top Up Live. And let's just break into straight away the poll. The poll I posted is about pilots. What was your thoughts on pilots? Do you think they are healthy for the game, or do you think it creates an unfair advantage within PvP? Pretty simple. I also give a third option, which is quite funny, to the I don't mind, I don't care guys, which are basically, you can imagine, probably one of you guys watching this video now that might just turn on your game, turn up to have fun, and guess what? You turn it off because you couldn't care less about the degeneracy and the sweat hards that are in the game. So I appreciate you guys. I honestly do. That's why I put you guys an option there. So when it comes to the other two, though, it's kind of alarming how many people on Discord was trying to say they was in favor of pilots. But when it came to the crux of voting, it seemed like the pilot mafia didn't show up, because only 5% of you guys within 168 votes actually voted for it, while over 64% of players, nearly 2/3 of the vote, doesn't like it. It demotivates them. You are literally feeling like you're playing against robots, creating an unfair advantage within the PvP experience. So already here I can showcase, and if we do this probably across other channels and get more people involved, I can imagine they're going to have very similar results, because pilots are not healthy for Age of Empires Mobile. And I'm going to explain why they're not healthy for Age of Empires Mobile. Firstly, with the seasons. Because as many people know, what happened a couple of seasons ago changed overall the gameplay for future KVK events, especially in the Desolate Desert, for people who are just playing the game. Many players was caught, and the devs noted that many players were abnormally playing the game. So to prevent this, they did try to ban some of those accounts, but to stop the botters from actually winning, they capped everyone. So every single player right now, if you are playing, you would know gathering points is capped to a certain point. And that is it. Before, it wasn't. And this is an issue because the devs didn't ban the pilots and keep banning the pilots. They punished everyone for doing this. And you got to think the impacts for the free-to-play player, the low spender, even maybe the biggest spenders in the game that could be sat at their computer, and maybe there isn't no fighting going on. So do you know what? They're working on one computer, they've got Age of Empires Mobile on their other screen or on their phone, and they're farming away throughout the day. Now, every single one of those persons has been punished because of the actions of a pilot. And this is going to continue to happen, because what has been seen, and no matter what anyone tries to argue, this is becoming more and more common. Every error, I mean every error, I know my error, enemy errors, all your errors, no point denying it within the comment section. How many people have pilots on their accounts? This is just because when it comes to PvP in Age of Empires Mobile, people are using pilots to have 24/7 uptime on the most powerful accounts. So that means when the enemies are trying to push, trying to do anything, well, guess what? They're not able to. They're prevented by a robot, basically 24/7 playing, because when the pilot goes to sleep, one of the other pilots might go on, or the main user is going to be logged in. So this is just creating even imbalance in those events. On top of those events, you've got to think, when you are playing Age of Empires Mobile here, when you go to the overview and you check out the gameplay, all the different events in the game rely on one very important aspect, which is the preparation stage. The prep stages are designed so you as an era, you as a team are working together to win, so you vote for your time preferred. So if you're an American and you're going against Koreans, you would obviously pick the time slot that's more suitable for you and hopefully isn't got the, high time for the Asians. That's kind of the way you're trying to play it, right? It's same with Europe. If Europe was going again, we would try and position it so it's at a time slot like 11 UTC, which is like 1, 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning for the United States. Many players don't want to be waking up at that time just to play an event for basically an hour or two. It's just common sense. So even pilots are negating this key philosophy in Age of Empires Mobile. Because if those accounts are 24/7 up, how the hell is someone ever supposed to push and defend against you? Because the whole point of Age of Empires Mobile is when you're in these different events and you are playing, whatever you're playing in the game mode, when you are on the map and you are trying to push or you're trying to do all, you're expected to have this push and pull gameplay. What that means is, just for hypotheticals, let's just say around this area, let's say K11 wanted to advance on X11. Maybe for 4 to 5 hours of a day, both alliances are actually online. Whole high time, you got it, right? So you can imagine the fight between these two are quite even. But at some point, either X11 or K11 is going to have less members online. And if they've got less members online, you should have more field presence, more quality rallies, more units to use. So over the next 2, 3, 4, whatever hours it may be, you should start to either have an advantage and push forward, or at least hold wherever you're holding still, right? When it flips now, you're going to think you're going to go to sleep, and maybe you did make progress. Well, K11's here with the chance to either push you back, and your team that might be on defensive duty needs to do their defending. If there's pilots, this basic concept that is literally preached in all of these games and why they're supposed to work is flawed. It doesn't work, because if there's a 24/7 bot, how can you fight against something that's never asleep, never rests? That is not how this game or even life does work. It just doesn't work like that. People need to sleep. People need to go to work. People need to do whatever they need to do, and maybe away from the game. And that is how even pilots are ruining what I would consider basic gameplay. So the thing is, this at the moment is at the level we're at. The problem is with pilots, it can get insane. So if I play this little clip just from Chisgle's video, you can see it's about 3 minutes in. You can watch the full video if you want. It's on his channel. They're literally the 2 most up-to-date, I think, videos as of the time of this recording. He might have uploaded some more since then. But what he says here is he explains the extent of how crazy these pilots got. Because in the other video that we are going to fully react to, because he actually talks about quite a lot of things that I agree with and disagree with, and I honestly need to say it needs to bring you guys back to reality, because it feels like you guys live in a Disney world when it comes to this game now. We need to talk about it, right? So let's just play the first clip, and you can hear the extent this got.
This is a very important statement. The measure system is clearly determined to be engaging in professional mass piloting behavior. The relevant restriction measures will continue to remain in effect. Now, this is a very important statement, because I think here the devs are revealing one of the things they're trying to solve: professional mass piloting behavior. I can say from personal experience that, like, professional mass piloting behavior in a previous KVK that I was in made me really question, like, why am I playing my account for hours on end, making choices about, do I go sledding with my kids or not in the snow, or do I play this KVK, when, like,
Can you tell us what he did to you?
No. No, he can't.
It's not a secret, so I don't have to speak about it in a veiled way. Like 2489 was funding the pilots for a whole war camp, and that just the psychology of knowing that that was going on, that opponents didn't have to choose between life events and playing the game, was like just a huge psychological hit.
So let me just replay that so you understand what just happened.
It's not a secret, so I don't have to speak about it in a veiled way. Like 2489 was funding the pilots for a whole war camp, and that just...
So what we're seeing here, Rise of Kingdoms has been known to have pilots just like any of these games. It's only since now Lilith, the company that run, obviously, Rise of Kingdoms, Call of Dragons, and their other games that they've made, they have said this is enough, man. This is gotten too out of control, because let's be honest, we may have ignored it in the early phase. We may have and said it isn't a problem. What you just heard was an entire server paid pilots to effectively pilot another server's big accounts for them and ally with them within a KVK event to ensure victory in the game. So this can be the extent of what people are willing to do in the game. And this, if you watch the entire saga that happened, and you can actually research and look it up on YouTube, it is insane seeing two kingdoms for literally weeks and weeks and weeks on end having these accounts that literally never stopped playing. And that is absurd. That is not what should be allowed and promoted or thought was a positive for these games, because it is not. Imagine right now you're playing in an era and you find out two other eras have allied, and the bigger one, who has massive maybe spenders in the game, have paid for pilots for your server to ensure you two can do that and win for the enemy. Just imagine you heard that happen. It would be the biggest scandalous things that has ever happened in this game's history. So why allow it to happen? Just why? This is honestly one of my biggest concerns in the game. Piloting, I understand on paper, makes sense to players. People want to say, look, these guys are spending tens and thousands on their account. If they should want to pay for a pilot, or someone wants to, hire a pilot for their accounts to play it, it should be okay. No, it shouldn't. Just because you spend more money in the game does not give you any more right compared to anyone else in the game to break terms of service for fair gameplay and basically the rules of the game. You have made that choice on your own accord to spend as much money as you have spent on your account. If you've got to go to work, if you've got to go to a wedding, maybe you got to go and play golf. Guess what? Go and play golf. Go to the wedding and your account isn't online. When you finish that, it's still going to be there. And that is one of the biggest problems in this game and what people can't, I believe, grasp in life. Age of Empires Mobile is a game. It should not be your life. It should not dictate your decisions, as many people really get into a cult-like situation with now to do. You should not feel like if you're not online for 8 hours, someone needs to be playing your account. You shouldn't. If you've got to be offline to do something, you should not feel the urge to have someone playing on your account to help out. You've got to understand that you are one player and your castle is one castle. So if you are unable to compete, you are unable to compete. That's life. That is the game. That is the whole purpose of any of these games. And I just don't think people take this seriously. And what we're going to do is play the other video, because as you'll see, a little spoiler here, obviously his account got a little 24-hour ban. However, it wasn't justified, as you'll see. But as we watch the video, there is areas that I'm going to agree with. But at the same time, I'm going to completely disagree with the concept of pilots, because at the end of the day, there isn't actually any excuse for them. There isn't. You make the excuse to validate your belief in using them. It's as simple as that. Let's press play. Let's get the ban.
Today we have a situation on our hands, chat. It's a piloting situation where some number of governors got this warning, including me. Our system detected unusual login activity from your account. To ensure account security, we've applied the following restrictions. Untrusted device, troop dispatch restriction 24 hours. This is your first warning this season. Repeated unusual login activity will result in more severe penalties, including account bans. Please make sure to only log in with a personal trusted device.
And I think this is right, because the thing is, what this is doing is pretty simple. If you're the pilot and you log into that account, the devs, and people forget this happens. People literally don't understand that devs can see everything. When you log into your phone, when you log into your PC, when you log into your tablet, when you log into your laptop, each one of those devices have a unique UID attached to the device, not even to your IP. They can combine the IP and the device ID to get really good accuracy to say, do you know what, that is the same person and he is in that same location, so we understand it's that guy. They can do that, right? But they know who and what is logging in. So what happened here is, unfortunately, he did get a 24-hour restriction for an untrusted device. And this isn't actually his fault, right? He just got, as he's going to explain in a moment, and I'll skip through it quickly though, he got a brand new computer. Because he got a brand new computer, as you can imagine, it's a new login for the very first time. It's going to be untrusted. But as a player, and as a development team, as you can imagine, if you report your new device to the development team, this doesn't happen, because they can see, okay, he's got this new device. They make you log in. They can see that it's on the same IP as yours. And you know what? They can verify it's literally the same person in the same house, in the same room with the same stuff. Instead of using his PC, he's got a brand new, I don't know, Apple Mac laptop. I don't know, whatever you've got, right? Anything. So this is very clever, because it actually bans the pilots. The pilot cannot use your account for 24 hours, which is amazing, because as he will showcase on his other accounts, they are not affected because they are trusted devices. They are something that the devs can see that you've logged in numerous times. Is like your home address, for example. So they know, yeah, that is him. That's that guy, right? So I can play this so you can see.
Now you might be wondering, Chess School, why might you have gotten this? Well, let me tell you, I'm sure that some number of devices are correctly blocked for being involved in piloting.
Which is important, because that's the whole purpose of what's happened. Remember, the devs over at Rise of Kingdoms are stopping pilots, so they've issued this very first way of trying to counteract it, right? So many people who probably got this screen were pilots, but there is case scenarios where mistakes happen, but that is perfectly reasonable, because as you will notice here in this second video, which was uploaded after, the devs understood this. They, in response to the feedback regarding inaccurate common device detection and failure to consider some normal device switching scenarios, they are optimizing that logic anyway within the detection system. So they understand, yeah, it wasn't going to be perfect, but guess what? We can fix these problems. We can fix the small issues that people have had to deal with the larger problem that they've got right there, right? So really, really funny.
It's a problem.
If we just skip through
this problem, and the answer is no, because here I am on my tablet. Okay, you see, this is my hand really doing this, that I don't have this problem over here. So some number of governors are obviously correctly having devices blocked because they are piloted devices, and some number of governors, okay, have devices like my stream PC that's blocked, even though it's within the same Square inch of where my old PC is physically. It is plugged in with the same cable to the same port of the same router.
I love it. It's so funny because I'm the same. I would be crashing out too because you would expect the logic of the detection system to cover that. But do you know what? It hasn't. But at least they can fix that and fix the minor problem that they've got there for the larger issue. So you can see how this system works in Rise of Kingdoms, but we could easily implement in Age of Empires Mobile. Like, they can literally check out your device. They can check out your IP too as well. They have that information and see if it's the same person, same thing, and make it a trusted device. Because if your device is in one location, and within 1 minute or 30 seconds, whatever they decide it to be, just appears in another location, and it's not one of the trusted devices, it clearly is a pilot logging in and taking advantage of unfair gameplay, which is 24/7 uptime, right? So it is nuts that this is the extent it can get to, but there is ways that can be combatant to it. And I want to try and make this video so hopefully one of the devs, someone in the team watches it and understands, like, I'm not asking, and no one's asking for this to be implemented tomorrow, next week, but we do want this to be pushed forward because this is creating a lot of it just injustices. It really is. The amount of times people are just not able to push or even hold defenses because these accounts are never offline is just creating unfair wins. It really is. It's not the point of the game. And what I'm going to do is skip through here just a little bit so we can explain, or let Chisgol kind of explain a little bit, because the thing is, he does pilot, I don't want to say on Rise of Kingdoms, but he says, and he does say, that he has piloted on other games. And the thing is, in my eyes, you should never be trying to promote this, because if you promote even that you've done it yourself, well, I'm just going to be honest, you're helping people say it's okay to do this type of behavior, right? And the issue is, he starts to go on different reasonings on why you may pilot. And I'm going to be honest, as he breaks each one, I am going to pause and tell you why I fully disagree with it, because I don't think there's ever a time you can agree with this, because one of the tough things is life. Tough luck if you need to go to sleep and not play for 8 hours. That's life. You need to sleep. You're a human being. Even if you get 6 hours or 4 hours, whatever it is, you've got to take breaks. You might be driving. You got to take breaks, right? So let's get through this and then hopefully finish the video on a high point.
General, and also things that Rise of Kingdoms can consider doing. All right. And let's start with my thoughts on piloting in general, because I have some perspective. I've been in this genre of game beyond just Rise of Kingdoms for a long time. And it is extremely common to have piloting in this style of game. The weirdness starts to happen around rules enforcement and rules declarations for these games. Because when the rules, as stated by the developers, say you can't do this, but they aren't enforced, an unenforced rule is a guaranteed path to victory for the people that break the rules. It's the cheat code to victory for the people that aren't following the rules, because we know piloting is an advantage. Having your account on more is just good. It's just powerful. We know that. It's not up for debate. And
that's just to silence the people who try to say having pilots isn't an advantage. Like, you are clearly delusional if you think otherwise. You are. And it's just one of these things where, why do you need to have that? Do you get what I mean? Like, why can't you just put your device down and be human? And let's just continue.
There's a rule that says don't do it, but a bunch of people do and they don't get punished, and everybody sees it and then they start doing it, and then more people are doing it, everyone else sees that and they start doing it. It becomes this effect of like, there's two categories of players.
He goes through this in a sec, but as he's pointing out, and this is why I wanted to make a big deal of this beginning video clip, because if you don't stop the snowball from rolling down the hill, that's an infinite hill of snow, you're gonna get hit by this giant boulder. You're gonna get hit by something big. So why allow it? And it's the fact that we have even one of the biggest creators in city building games. Let's be honest, he is Chisgo, man. Everyone knows Chisgo from city building games, right? Even himself explaining that if the enforcement arm, which is the devs, the main team, are not taken seriously, knowing these accounts and knowingly breaking TOS and having pilots and letting them get away with it, then more's going to do it. Then more will do it. Then more will do it. And then who knows? We might get a situation where a single error is going to do what we've seen in Rise of Kingdoms, where they buy pilots, hire pilots for another kingdom, and now have two allies to guarantee 24/7 uptime and absolutely demolish your enemies and never allowing them to actually win. What are we going to do? Are we going to sit around and allow this to happen? Because in my eyes, we can stop it here. We can put our foot down as a community, even as a team with the developers, and be like, listen, we understand you've spent a lot of money in game, but that doesn't warrant you breaking rules. It doesn't. It's your choice to spend as much as you have spent in game. Like anyone, I spend in game. But guess what? I'm not breaking rules because it isn't what you're supposed to do. It is not the whole point of these games. I am sorry to hear it. Let's carry on with the video because it is a really fun video when it goes into
ones that are and the ones that aren't, and the ones that aren't are at an obvious disadvantage to the ones that are. So my general sense of piloting is if you're going to have rules, you have to enforce them, and they have to be enforced evenly. If you're not going to have rules, or you're not going to enforce the rules, then like you have to lift them. So that.
And I agree. And this is where I think the dilemma gets to, where us, the community, and even me as a creator, kind of slings the ball in the devs' court. We've returned swing. We're in a tennis. It's your turn to return the pass. Are you going to just lift the pilot in ban? Are you going to allow people to have access to other people's accounts? And it's on their risk and their security in order to do so. Because if it is, you kind of explain the rules to them. It's their fault if something happens, right? You've explained it. It's their decision to do it. Or are you going to maintain rules? And if you are going to maintain rules, you need to be way more enforcing. You need to enforce these rules and make it clear this is not tolerated, because otherwise it's going to get out of control. It is going to get out of control. And I don't want it to get to that point. It is stupid already seeing how it is already. And if this is how it is right now, wait until more and more come. It's going to get ridiculous.
Everybody can play on the same playing field, right? Because at some point, if you see everybody else having these advantages and getting wins, you just don't want to win.
Which
brings you to my relationship with...
Which is true. Just to point that out, what he said there, 64% of you literally feel that. Not a small minority, over 64% who voted on there. And if I refresh this, there might be even more votes. I'm going to have to scroll down, obviously, to get to it. Nope, still there. It's 168 votes there. Simply 64% of the vote demotivates you, feels like robots. And you just realistically think, I don't even want to log in, because what's the point of logging in and trying to play against these guys? And he's even saying the same thing. I can't stress how bad this is for the game. And anyone who promotes it and anyone who thinks this is okay, I'm going to be honest, you're an issue to the game and you are the problem. You need to reevaluate your life. I'm gonna be real.
Piloting, which is something important that we talk about. Now, I mentioned this in my cancer update video, and I talked about my relationship with piloting there, which not everybody saw. In fact, more than 10 times as many people watched the original video where I said I had gotten skin cancer than wanted to follow up with the update videos, which I get it.
I was just going to say a big shout out to Chiz for doing that, because I watched the videos and then followed it through. It was honestly a nice thing to follow through because, as you guys probably guessed, if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have done it myself. Obviously, I wouldn't have gone to a doctor's, got checked out from the pains I was having, not got sent to the hospital, had the scans, and been basically now waiting hopefully another week for my actual results to see if I got cancer, if I don't have cancer. I don't know until I get those results, right? So I need to thank him because he was the guy telling everyone to do it. And you know what? I did it. And I can't be any more grateful. So big shout out to Chiz here, because I think everyone should always be focused on their health, right? And this is a big point that I want to kind of stress in this next segment, because health is the biggest thing that people forget when playing this game. And all the points I believe he's about to make on why potentially you could be piloting is, I understand and excuse why you could be piloting, but it doesn't excuse basically ignoring for your health. That is the best way of putting it. So let's go.
Like, I get that the spectacle of the diagnosis is way bigger than the update on how it's going, which, for the record, currently I am cancer-free. However, still every 3 months, I need to go and pull from the cancer loot box, whereas the grand prize in that case is having cancer. That's the rare pull. That is bad. So every 3 months...
And I get this because even my father has to go and get cancer scans. So I understand where this is coming, man. Even when I get told, I'm always hopeful. Everyone's hopeful, right? But it's literally a loot box, and it's the worst loot box you're pulling from. And if you have it, let's see what you can do to beat it again, or beat it, right? So it's a funny analogy, and I actually quite love it. It's quite a very clever one to do. So big props to that.
I have to rethink, how am I and how have I been spending my time? Which is why I disclosed in that prior video many, many months ago, over half a year ago, that in some number of games I have piloted, and that my relationship with that was only going to step up given the new context in which I live my life. Obviously, I stated in that video that I obtain my resources in the same way as everybody else, which I've stated in many videos for a really, really long time. So since another content creator had gone and sort of issued...
This is some Rise of Kingdoms drama. If you want to know, I think you could go and check it out. I'm sure it's to do with like Chadsky and some other people. There's a bunch of people. There's some content creator drama. We're not bothered about that. But
issued a failed threat of indicating they were going to release a bunch of DMs. I thought I would just get ahead of this with a reminder for everybody that I have disclosed in the past that my relationship with piloting had changed. Now, long, long ago, in fact, for a very long time, I really took a lot of shit when I was in 2605 and I was playing with certain people. Man, I'd say the thing that we need to try to do as a kingdom is like have as many people piloted as possible. And they'd say, what about you? What about you? You're not going to do it because you're a creator. And I was like,
Buster, you've grown up.
You were like, Buster, what the fuck you saying, Willis? What a perfectly placed.
What do you want? Like, what are you trying to force me to pilot it as possible? And they'd say, what about you? What about you? You're not going to do it because you're a creator. And I was like, what do you want? Like, what are you trying to force me into here? Right? But like, I have faced extreme pressure to pilot in a number of games, in a number of contexts. And like, in some number of games, some amount of the time, I do pilot. And that's what I can say about that because of the nature of those relationships and the...
So you can see even openly admitting it. And this is the thing where it's a bit of a weird one, because in my eyes, he shouldn't have a ban for doing it. But it's the fact that if you're piloting, why? The thing is, if you're especially not going to be playing the game, especially like it happened in Age of Empires Mobile, if you're not going to be playing the game, just don't play the game. I don't think anyone is going to be mad. If you want to get rid of your account, if you want to give your account to someone else and just let them have it for the sake of it, sure, it's completely different. But having just someone to pilot your account so you can technically do what you need to do on there while having no content or concept, should I say, of how the game's actually meant to be played, to me is just mind-boggling. So this, I kind of try to understand it from a content creator point of view, but even myself, I can't. Because as I've seen, Bulba's said it, and a lot of other content creators have said it. If you run 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever amount of YouTube channels you run, that's down to you. That's your choice to run those channels. That's your choice to take on more games, and it's your choice to create more content because of that, right? So we can't get into this weird area where in order to make that content you have to hire pilots in order to do it. It's just, to me, it doesn't even sound good saying that. Do you get what I mean? Like, people are expected to watch me, expected to watch him, whatever, because it's them, it's their accounts, their time, that they've put in the work. So you're willing to listen to them because you can see how much passion, how much effort, they clearly know what they're talking about when it comes to the game. So you could carry on, right? But when you find out, for example, if I said it, like, I don't know anything, someone plays my account, why would you ever listen to anything I say? Like, why would you? Someone else is doing the work and I'm not doing anything. So I don't get this point, and it kind of goes downhill from here.
The nature of agreements that are in place with different development teams, right? And that's all I can say about that. What I can go so far as to say even is that in some other games, and I'll reveal this again because of the veiled threat that was levied, but then in how do I want to say this? In one instance, in some number of games even, like, I've hired help to make sure that I have good topics identified, that the scripting is good. And so gameplay is paired with help with video prep too.
That's fine. Right? Because what he mentioned there, if we just listen to him again, he's hired someone to help look at the script and understand topics to be picking within the game. And then he's getting gameplay to go alongside that. There's nothing wrong with that. In my eyes, that's good content creator, right? You're taking time to research, and maybe you're not the most knowledgeable person in that game when you start out. So you're asking someone who is more knowledgeable, what are the topics people need to know? How can I convey this? What are the best events to be covering, right? And you learn that from them. So I don't think this, and this is one of the best points, and I think this is a fully valid point he said here, that is a big thumbs up. Well, there's not going to be any more.
So I'm just getting that out there since a veiled threat was issued, and I feel like I have to get ahead of this so that you can hear it from me instead of hearing it from them, which I think is really not cool, but like they're saying what.
Gotta love some content creator drama in Rise of Kingdoms. I'm not even lying, it's one of the only things I still watch.
They're saying, they're doing what they're doing, and I wish them well in their journey, genuinely. So it's unfortunate that that's where we are. But yeah, so, you know, I more than most am keenly aware and genuinely feel the push-pull of, like, should I really be spending all this time in KVK rather than seeing my kids today? Because my time, I may find out any quarter that, like, as it turns out, it was limited. So for the time being, given I like operate under the assumption that AI will eventually make medical breakthroughs so good that I'm going to live forever. Not literally, but figuratively, in which case everything I'm doing with how I spend my time is perfectly fine. But also in the back of my mind, that context could change before AI gets us to that place, especially because I had a cancer diagnosis. So I'm very careful about that. So that's my feeling about piloting, and that's my relationship with piloting. As someone who has piloted in some number of contexts, I also feel like it's important for someone to be able to have balance and, like, take a vacation. Because
And this is what I need to stress, because that is true. And this is where I agree with what he says here, but what he continues on saying, I disagree with. Because people should have vacations. People should have breaks, go on holiday, whatever they're doing, right? And if you're going to say to someone, I'm offline for this week, I'm on a holiday, guess what? You're on holiday for that week, you ain't playing. You might jump on, you know what I mean? You might jump on by the pool, do your dailies with a nice martini or vodka, whatever you've ordered, you know, good old bevy. But if there's some really big events, you're not really probably going to be playing, because you might be out at a festival. Maybe you've got a I don't know, a theme park you're at, right? You're doing something with the family because you're on holiday. And this is what many people forget with Age of Empires Mobile and just these games in general. And he says it in the very beginning of his sentence. That is, it's a balance. You're not supposed to be playing the game 24/7. You're supposed to balance the game and your life. So if you've got work, if you've got to sleep, if you've got to go and take your kids to school, if you've got a holiday, if you've got a wedding, whatever the occasion, the event, whatever it is, guess what? You're not playing the game. You're doing that event. And guess what? It's okay. It's okay. No one's going to die. You know why? Because it's a mobile game. Yes, you have made the conscious decision to invest your money into your account. That's your choice. But guess what? When you come back from your event, your castle is still there. And this is a big point I don't think many people are saying, mentioning, stressing to the community, because everything he's about to say from here to here is literally different things that I'm gonna say and not excuses. Because if you want to go and spend time with your family instead of playing fucking KVK, guess what? Go spend time with your family instead of KVK. What are we doing? What are we saying here? And if you feel like you can't make that decision, I'm going to tell you, you've got a problem. And maybe it is time for you to take a little break from the game and get back to reality, where in reality, people play games, but people have lives too. And this is one thing people forget, and people won't willingly accept. And it might be a hard truth pill to swallow, but I know players, some of the biggest players in the game, that were like this, constantly playing the game, never spending time with their families, and guess what? Burnt out, they've quit the game. Some return, because guess what? They had a break, they understand. Do you know what? It is a balancing act. If I balance this out properly, I can play the game, I can actually have these moments with my fam. I know many people have left and returned, all for that premise. So why are we trying to sugarcoat it?
I have a vacation planned. And that vacation, unfortunately, happens and lands right around when this King's Land fight's taking place in this KVK. And you can't point to the vacation system and say, well, that's what you should have done. You should have signed up for vacation, Chisquel. And it's like, dude, not only can I not expect to have to coordinate to that degree with my king around when I may or may not be available based on like when we might be queuing for KVK. Like, I don't know. Is the king of the kingdom supposed to maintain a vacation calendar for every single person in the kingdom?
If you're that serious, yes. I'm sorry. Like, in my Discord, literally in our era Discord, and in even previous Empire Discords that we was in before this, right? We had that. And I think many places have that. If you're going on vacation, people literally type, I'm going on vacation. And guess what? It's no big deal. All that means is, and it's kind of easy to track, even though he's making a big deal out of it, all they do is literally have a table, and they don't even need to have every single player on there. All they'll do is say this, they'll type it in like this name, off this amount of time, back here. And if they've got 4 or 5 people there, they know that that's occurring. What's so difficult about that? I'm going to be real. Empires, Rise of Kingdom servers, errors, you know, any game in this genre especially at the top levels with the top 20% leading kingdoms and so on, 9 times out of 10, they have an actual council. They have actual members that are managing teams, managing players, doing town hall meetings, tracking stuff like this. Because let's be real, you're saying this is such a thing they can't do, but they already do this. If someone's going on holiday, you have a pilot ready to go for them. So even though the argument is the king shouldn't be able to, or shouldn't have to do this, you guys already do this, because if you don't know who's going on holiday and when they're going on holiday, you don't schedule and you don't have pilots ready to run for accounts. So you literally defeated your own argument because you already do this. So this is what I mean. There's a lot of things in here I
and
just
then put them on the vacation list
with.
so that
so
because
hard.
they've done the math in advance of like when a KVK Kingsland fight is going to happen. Like, the more you say out loud what that has to become, the more insane it is. Plus, we know that an account that's resting is an account that's on its way to dying, because when you're not getting value relative to everybody else, your account's falling behind. You can't miss out on season coins and conquest coins. You're literally falling behind. So this,
and this isn't an argument. Why? Because if this is your argument, what about all the free-to-play players and lower spenders that are not a medium or high spender in these games? Well, they are spending the same amount of time as you in these events, but they won't be earning the same amount of rewards as you in these events because they are not spending. So how does your argument invalidate theirs? Can we see why this is hypocrisy, the contradiction here, why I really dislike this type of stuff? If you're offline for 7 days, guess what? You've lost 7 days worth of whatever your season coins, whatever your season rewards were for those 7 days. Guess what? Life goes on. And anyone who knows these games and plays these games, as we know Chisco does, and myself, guess what? I bet you within 6 months or even a year's time, that 7 days you miss is not relevant. Because there is either new power mechanics, brand new heroes, the meta's changed. There is different things that you do. People do not keep doing the exact same thing that they did from the beginning of global launch. So again, I just disagree with this. And
solutions at Rise of Kingdoms.
I love Chiz. I really do. He's a good friend. We talk in DMs when we're able to, and you know, even to do with like a little bit of personal life, always there for him. And whenever I'm asking him stuff, he's there for me too. So love him to bits, right? Good friend, especially as a content creator. But when it comes to stuff like this, I have to be, again, maybe a friend and tell him, as you have said in your own video, have balance in your life, bud. If you want to go out for 2 to 3 hours, go out for 2 to 3 hours and don't worry about the game. The game's going to be there when we get back. It's as simple as that. And when it comes to other stuff, and I can say this maybe from my point of view as a content creator, I have had different sponsors from different games. And the thing is, depending on the sponsor, you can ask for different things. Meaning, like, if it's going to be like a one-time thing and they want you to try and cover a lot of bits, normally, what I have had, can't quote who from and stuff, but I have had accounts that get given a quick injection of stuff, so you can basically speed up to like level, you know, maybe mid-game really fast, just so you can create that content. And if they don't do that, normally game development teams have asset packages. So you get given video assets for all the stuff that you need anyway that you can use to make your content for your channel. So even in that direction, this is why I don't understand the use of pilots, even to maximize content coverage, because at the end of the day, you should be playing those games because you should be learning that game inside and out so you can make content for it. You shouldn't be just using it to add an extra avenue to yourself, because then what we doing here? You know, like, no one is gonna be upset, even with me, with himself, with whatever, hiring editors, because an editor is an editor, right? I'm still making the content, I'm still playing the game, I'm still providing the information. I've just got Steve or someone brand new to the channel that might be editing these videos and making them better for you guys, right? That's fine, because the more editors I have, guess what? Time saved. I can do what I want to do with my real life, right? So no matter what, you guys can watch the rest of this video if you want. There is a lot. I'll just skip through even to this point.
I don't know what happens next. And I think that's a very interesting idea as a pathway to solving the problem and a constructive solution. It's are far more competitive, like not that uncommon. And then there's the extreme other end of things where it's like, dude, like, you know, esports are far more competitive with far more advanced rules. I don't know how they enforce those rules, but like presumably they've got a lot of sophistication in how they do that. So
I don't even think it's sophistication. It's just as brutal as you can imagine. If some player is found cheating in games, 9 times out of 10, that player is either banned from the tournament, banned from competitive play altogether, or the teams generally sack those players, because cheating is not fair play gameplay conduct. It is against the rules of terms of service, and especially in esports. But what's worse is the suggestion someone made in order to combat this. And this is what they said.
So it's tough. When I talked with Wild Lion, he recommended that there ought to be 2 different types of KVKs. Ones in which there's like free play of pilots, and one in which there is no piloting allowed at all, and there's very, very, very strict rules.
So that on its own is insane, because it's going to be so hard for the devs to know when you're piloting or not now in between these 2 game modes. On top of this, just hear what you're saying to yourself in another game aspect. Let's have one lobby where aimbot, wall hacks, no clip, every known FPS cheat is allowed, for example. Let's just have cheats enabled. And then you have another playlist over here that is the normal game that doesn't have any cheats, which is what people should be playing. Like, it sounds good on paper to the pilot situation, because people want to cheat and break the terms of service and have unfair advantage in PvP. It is as simple as that. And do you know what? I agree with the Lilith devs here, and I hope the Age of Empire Mobile devs watch the entirety of the video and understand. I hope they are on board with this company too, and they take this seriously and actually start figuring out ways like this where you can dispatch restrict troops from those pilot devices so they can't actually play with them. And then if they keep doing it, just ban the accounts. Because if they are not willing to accept punishment and they think they can keep getting away with it and create unfair advantages, this is going to be a problem. And I'm going to be real, I do not want to see one of these events happening. I do not want to hear an error paying for another error to have pilots in order to win events. That is ludicrous. That is insane. And the fact that it has happened just showcases it can happen. Not even like a fairy tale dream here. These are actual things that happen in Rise of Kingdoms in the last few months, which was bonkers to hear. So 64% don't like any of the pilots. 5% of you guys love pilots, and 31% are in the I don't mind camp. And I can imagine most of the don't mind camp would say, do you know what, if you ban pilots, I'd be happier. But again, it doesn't affect me because I'm not a pilot, so why do I care, right? I get it. So no matter what, this needs to be addressed. And I hope today's video, going through those videos, talking about my opinion on it, helps. And the moral of the story is, listen, Life is life. Remember you have one. If you've got to log off, you've got to log off. Having that account not playing, big whoop-de-woo. It's the game. Right now, you might be playing Call of Duty or Battlefield. Guess what? You're playing Age of Empires Mobile. Do you have a pilot playing your account on Call of Duty? No. So what are we doing here? What are we trying to accept that is perfectly fine in his game when it's not? Debs, hopefully you get the picture. Hopefully down below there's a lot of your guys' comments all in agreement. Hopefully the devs listen and really knuckle down on pilots and get this out of the game before it becomes a disaster. So until then, smash a like, comment, subscribe. Till the next video, guys. Stay safe, stay sneaky. Peace out.